Hello, it's me, Nikki, and welcome to my channel. This is the 25 books challenge. Amrita did this on her channel, and it's essentially 5 prompts, 25 books, and 5 books. It's just 5, 5, 5, 5, and 25. You're supposed to do it in like 2 minutes each one. That's not gonna happen. So, she gave me 5 books with fairies, 5 books set in the past, 5 books that should be adapted to screen, 5 books published this year, and 5 books you'd wish you'd written. Okay, so first, 5 books with fairies. I'm not a huge fairy person. I think I was when I was younger, but now if you read a YA book with fairies, there's usually some love triangle involved. So I'm trying to think. I'm gonna have to go to Goodreads. They have a list tab in Goodreads. It's helped me a lot. So, fairies. I'm getting fairy tales. It's not quite. Okay. Let's see. There is a book called The Iron King. It's part of an Iron Fae trilogy by Julie Kagawa, I think is how you pronounce that. I've been interested in that. And it's the tags at Goodreads are fantasy, YA, romance, fairies, urban fantasy. I don't like the cover the covers they're showing me, but I think these books have come out with new covers. That look really amazing. Yes, 10th anniversary limited edition paperbacks, or the Kindle edition even, have like these beautiful covers. And apparently they've been out for 10 years. This is what happens when you read adult books as a teen, and then you go back to YA, you're like, I have never heard of these things. So yes, that one looks really interesting. I'm still hemming and hawing about it. I think people have read it. Well, I know people have read it, and they like it, but I don't always like that. I have to turn my fan on. And she's also written something called Talon, which I don't think is about fairies. It's about dragons that I want to read, so maybe I'll read Talon and then go back to the Iron Fae series. So that was one. I guess a lot of these covers just don't, they're not pulling you in, you know. What is the lightning? The lightning thief doesn't have fairies, does it? Well, I guess it has supernatural creatures. And a lot of the fairy books, they like want to fuck the fairies, and I'm like, why can't you just have like not fucking them, you know? Is Graceland fairies? No, okay. I thought there was more fairy shit than apparently there is on this list. I know the one that we don't like, by we, I mean me and Amrita and Rosie and Lana and Nat. A Court of Thorn and Roses has fairies, or fae. I didn't like that. Yeah, that's on here. What's the other, does the other one have? So we didn't like that one. There's another one that's also a Beauty and the Beast retelling, except the main character has crutches? But I don't think that has fairies in it. I don't think, anyway. There is The Fairy Queen by, it's an old book. That's not how you spell it. The Fairy Queen. By Edmund Spencer. I read that. It's a poem, but it's like a long one to Elizabeth I, and he's comparing her to the mythical fairy queen, and about how, like, Queen Elizabeth is cool like the fairy queen, but also dangerous like the fairy queen. So I like that one. That's kind of got fairies in it, right? We'll go with that. That's number 3. It's been a while since I read it. It's a, oh, I remember what that other one is. It's the other one I was talking about is A Curse So Dark and Lonely, and this looks like it's just a retelling with no fairies involved. This is why this was never gonna be 2 minutes, so. Let's see. A lot of these books on this list I have never, ever heard of. And they all seem to be similar. If you get my meaning. Tilda. Well, I guess Matilda's supernatural, but it didn't have fairies. I think, does the stuff from the lady who I won't mention, who does the Bane Chronicles, does that have fairies, or is that just vampires? Well, I don't like her either, so I don't read her shit. We'll do another search. Okay. Books about fairy. Apparently I want to read A Dark Fever, which is about fairies. the walls between men and fae came down. It's a romance, paranormal romance with vampires. Why do I want to read that? I don't want to read that anymore. Because it just seems... If I'm wrong, tell me, but it seems like it's just gonna be like... Oh, there's an alpha fae who makes sex an addiction for human women. I don't think that's YA, but it's adult, but like, why did I want to read that? Did Artemis Fowl have fairies? Yeah, Artemis Fowl did have fairies. Well, leprechauns. But they were fairies. I read that a while ago. I remember liking it. The movie I know was garbage, but I never finished the rest of the series, so... And then he kidnaps a fairy to do something, to break into something, and then take over the world? I'm not sure. I remember he's a crime lord. And then, of course, Peter Pan has fairies. Tinkerbell was a bitch. I remember that. She was more of a bitch in the play. I saw the play when I was a kid. She was more of a bitch in that than the cartoon. She was a bitch in the cartoon. I think that's everything that I can think of. Is that 5? Yeah, we're not counting that Dark Fever one, but we'll put Peter Pan. So there's 5. I don't know if that made any sense. Okay, this next one should be easier. Crossing my fingers. 5 books set in the past. And I think it's 2 minutes for all 25, not for each category, which never gonna happen. Let me go to my books. And we'll go to medieval. Let's see. Obviously, I have to mention the Roger the Chapman series. We'll start with book 1, Death in the Chapman. I've talked about it a lot on this channel, but it's about Roger, who is a Chapman, which is, or was, I don't think it's a job anymore. He went around, like, buying from big cities, like, leather and needles and cloth, and then he would put them in his little pack, and he would go into smaller cities and sell them. Or, and, you know, he would stay in places and get food and that kind of stuff. He's a peddler, basically. And this Chapman, Roger, has a mind for murder, solving crimes. Sometimes he's a bit dumb, even in the later books when he's not 19 years old anymore. And in the first book, he investigates the disappearance of an alderman's son. And this is set in the 15th century, which is the 1400s? Yeah, the 1400s. And he meets Richard the Third. He meets Richard the Third's brothers. Well, he sees them, but he does actually meet Richard the Third of England before he's Richard the Third. Yeah, and it's a great series. I quite enjoy it. And it's really funny because even then, people didn't really have last names. So his father was a stonemason, so he was called Roger Stonemason. And he's like, no. And then people call him Roger Chapman. And he goes, no. And he goes, like, it's fine. My last name's Chapman. And that's how you get last names from your job. I just enjoyed that. I have to mention The Mistress of the Art of Death. I think I've talked about this one a lot. The first one, which is called The Mistress of the Art of Death, is excellent. It is about I've forgotten how to say it, Adelia, who is from medical school in Salerno, and she's forced to conceal her identity in England, because that's where she's sent, because they don't believe women can be doctors, and she can't even say what her purpose is because witchcraft. She's essentially a coroner, but they didn't have that word. She can look at a body without cutting it open and sort of see it, but she does cut it open as well. And she is followed by Mansour, I think is how you say it, who, Mansour who's Arabic? Or he's Muslim anyway, I think. And this is Henry II. Him and Catherine. Him and his wife, Eleanor, are fighting, so it's sort of in the middle-ish of his reign after he had, what's-his-face, murdered. So Mansour has to pretend to be the doctor. He then speaks in Arabic, basically nothing like, the orange juice is ripe today, and then she translates it by actually saying what she's found. I like it a lot. It's fun. The cast of characters is really good. Let's see, what else do we have here? That's 2. I do have it. Oh, there's historical fiction. I really liked Murder in the Place of Anubis. It is an ancient Egyptian historical mystery. It was written in 1994. So it's about Lord Marin, the pharaoh's investigator, and he uses his adopted son? It's his son anyway. And together they sort of figure stuff out. Marin is the eyes and ears of the living god, aka the pharaoh. It's Tutankhamun, aka King Tut, the one everybody knows. And Lord Marin is out there hunting his quarry and on a quest for truth, and it was a lot of fun. As someone who does like Egyptian history, it was weird because this was written, it was supposed to take place after Akhenaten had done that whole one sun god thing, and everybody was like, what? And then he died, and then King Tut was like, nah, it's cool, there's multiple gods. And so they had and I didn't know this. I thought everybody always knew they were related and how they were related. But in this book, King Tut calls King Akhenaten his brother instead of his father. And when we now know it's his father. And he's talking about his wife, who's also his sister, who probably was his sister. And it's also weird because I think this was even before anybody knew that King Tut was sick as fuck, because he's called strong and healthy, and I'm like, that boy he was inbred as fuck. Like, it was probably as bad as the Habsburgs, King Tut, because he couldn't walk, he was hunched over, so yeah, that's fun to read too. But yeah, I just had a lot of fun reading it. Was that 3? Let's see, another one. Oh, I liked number 4 is Immortal Bane. It is a medieval murder mystery by Roberta Gellis. It is about Magdalena, who is a madam of the Old Priory Guest House, and it's near a priory. And there's like a wall and a door that's locked on her side, I think, that connects them, because it used to be connected. It wasn't a body house. It was just a place where somebody lived until it got turned into that. And that was a lot of fun. The women that Magdalena has are great. There's a deaf one, I think. No. She doesn't speak, I don't think, but she can hear just fine. They have a woman of color, I think. And then maybe... And then I remember there's a woman who really likes sex, and she's young, and she might have, like, be mentally too young, but they all take care of each other. It's really nice. And then a client dies, and Magdalena are like, no, we like him, what's happening? And you know, if they don't find the killer, they're gonna be blamed, but they also did like this guy. So they work together with Sir Bellamy, and Magdalena and him sort of have a romance situation, and he thinks she did it, and she's like not telling him things. It's just a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun. I did quite like it. And then I will pick number 5, The Ghost Bride. Was so good. I don't know if any of you have heard about this, but you should have. It is about Leland, who lives in 1890s Malay, which is Malaysia, I think. And she has, I think it's this thing where she has a good name, but she's poor. And the wealthy Lim family wants her to marry their son, except he's dead. So she's like, no. And then she's drawn into a Chinese afterlife. And then there's, of course, Lang, a badass dragon, who she falls in love with. And it's just an amazing experience, and I would definitely recommend it. Yeah, we're way over. Okay. 5 books that should be adapted to screen. Easy, I think. The Temeraire series. Not maybe either movies or a TV show. What else? I had something in my head and I have lost it. All the classics have already been turned into stuff. How about mysteries? I think Roger Chapman would be good as well. The Mistress of the Art of Death. I'm surprised those aren't TV shows, so that's 3. What else? Oh, I think the Valdemar series, any of the ones I've read were Arrows of the Queen, Arrow's Flight, and Arrow's Fall. But there's more to it than that. That would definitely work. And Dragonlance, I know it was a cartoon, I think, but I think that'd be good as a TV show as well. 5 books published this year. Oof, I don't know. What year is it? 2021. My Contrary Mary is supposed to come out this year. I'm excited for. Leviathan Falls is supposed to come out this year. Rule of the Wolves, which is the second in the King of Scars. Witch Shadow, which is book 4 in the Witchlands. And You'll Be the Death of Me by Karen McManus. And then the last one, 5 books you'd wish you'd written. Ugh. Oof. Okay. 5 books I'd wish I'd written. I would have liked to have written a historical fiction about like they did the Jane series with Lady Jane Grey, Jane Eyre, and Calamity Jane. And now the ladies are Cynthia Hand, Brodie Ashton, and Jodie Meadows are doing a Mary series. I think that's so smart. I wish I could have done something like that. What else? I wish I could have written any sort of murder mystery that like Karen McManus does, because those are really good. I'm just not, my brain does not click for mysteries unless it's already planned out. Something like The Ghost Bride. Is that 2? Yeah, so Ghost Bride is 3. Where it's like a fantasy mythology thing. The mythology I'm drawn to is not necessarily what mine is. Like, I like Greek and Egyptian mythology. I'm not Greek or Egyptian. I mean, they're really old and anybody can write about it. But even more grounded mythology, I don't know. Maybe I will do that. But yeah, something like that. I wish I'd written that. I wish I'd written One Piece. I mean, it's so good. I mean, it's an epic. How do you... I don't know if Oda Ichiro knew it was gonna be that long, but that's like an epic. And he's actually writing it. Some authors. And then, let's see. I wish I'd written... I think every writer wishes they'd written Lord of the Rings, because then you wouldn't be derivative. You know, like, he took from Norse mythology and stuff, but he still basically invented everything that fantasy is based on. So yeah, I think a lot of fantasy writers wish they'd written that, and I'm one of them. And that is it. 28 minutes. Yeah, this took a really long time. So, thanks to Amrita for giving me all these prompts. Let me know if you want to do any prompts, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Goodbye!